The moment Donald Trump's declaration hits X, the Democrats are really out of control. They have lost everything, especially their minds. A tremor passes through every newsroom, dealer floor, and caucus office in the United States. Screens refresh, algorithms metastasize, partisans on both sides sense an approaching storm. Inside the executive residence, Trump absorbs the spike in retweets like an electrical charge and summons his inner circle. What begins as a brief strategy huddle rapidly mutates into a policy convocation. The president demands actions commensurate with the rhetoric. The country must witness decisive proof that Democrats govern chaotically and that his administration can restore order. 1. The Grant Freeze Edict. Chief strategist Stephen Miller produces the first weapon, a sweeping executive order titled, Restoring Fiscal Discipline to Lawless Jurisdictions. Effective immediately, all discretionary federal grants earmarked for states or municipalities branded sanctuary zones are frozen pending a law and order compliance review. The order threatens billions in infrastructure, education, and public health funds. Governors scramble, bond markets flinch. Republican state executives praise the move as overdue discipline, while Democratic counterparts brand it collective punishment. The Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel warns of constitutional hurdles, but Attorney General John Eastman counters that the spending clause empowers conditional grants. Only the definition of condition is new. The White House releases a glossy infographic equating cash flow with public safety, fueling cable news cheer-ins for days on end. 2. The National Accountability Commission. Having severed monetary lifelines, Trump reaches for something grander, an in-house tribunal to expose alleged corruption in blue jurisdictions. Thus, by memorandum, he establishes the National Accountability Commission, NAC, chaired by Elon Musk with vice chairs from Oracle, Blackstone, and Heritage Foundation legal scholar Cleta Mitchell. The NAC's mandate is deceptively simple: audit digital censorship, criminal justice statistics, and fiscal transfers wherever Democrats dominate. Subpoena power flows from an emergency pact with the House Speaker, and the commission situates itself in a newly vacated General Services Administration building, glass, steel, and a logo of an eagle unshackling itself from blue chains. Musk, flanked by engineers in SpaceX flight jackets, unveils the Verified Voter Portal, an online interface promising to match every ballot to a biometric profile. Critics call it a de facto national voter ID scheme. Musk calls criticism proof of fear. Civil rights groups sue in the Ninth Circuit within hours. Trump tweets a single word, patriots, and the NAC's follower count eclipses the National Archives' overnight. 3. Alcatraz reawakens. Even as the ink dries on the grant freeze, Trump embraces a more theatrical gambit, reopening Alcatraz. If Democrats won't secure their cities, he proclaims, we'll secure the worst of their criminals where escape is impossible. Photographers capture him pointing across a Pentagon war room map toward the fog-wreathed island in San Francisco Bay. California's Attorney General condemns the idea as historical cosplay. Civil liberties lawyers invoke Geneva-like standards. But Fox News loops archival footage of Al Capone's cell and scrolls polls showing majority support for isolating ultra-violent repeat offenders. The Bureau of Prisons dispatches feasibility teams. National Park rangers grumble about tour boat disruptions. Trump sells commemorative Alcatraz 2.0 hats at rallies. 4. Immigration shockwaves. Policies multiply. The Department of Homeland Security receives a classified directive to draft regional removal zones, wherein ICE agents may bypass local detainer policies. A pilot program begins near Chicago, triggering televised confrontations between federal marshals and Cook County Sheriff's deputies. Conservative broadcasters hail the footage as a federal rescue mission. Progressive outlets juxtapose it with families clutching birth certificates. When sanctuary city mayors file emergency motions in district court, administration lawyers argue that dormant anarchy justifies exceptional measures. Injunctions stall some operations, but the spectacle itself validates Trump's narrative of democratic dysfunction. 5. Economic chess. Meanwhile, Treasury Secretary Nathan Sheets reprograms tariffs, adding a public safety premium to imports routed through ports in states refusing federal policing benchmarks. Wall Street treats the maneuver like a market-moving novelty. Freight brokers howl. The president tweets, "Move your ports, save your wallets." Corporations quietly model relocation costs. Governors calculate whether to bend or litigate. The Chamber of Commerce drafts a neutral statement and then watches rival trade associations tear one another apart over the punctuation of the word lawless. 6. The Medicaid gambit. Healthcare becomes collateral damage. Budget Director Russ Vought drafts a rescission package slashing Medicaid matching funds for any state that fails to protect hospitals from illegal alien crime. The statutory grounding is fuzzy. Opponents label it extortion. Democratic National Committee officials mount town hall tours titled Save Our Care. The rhetoric crescendos when Trump calls the campaign a Democrat death cult. Protest signage proliferates. Hands off my doctor. Hands on their clocks. Partisanship bleeds into exam rooms as hospital administrators stockpile talking points alongside PPE. 7. The intelligence swirl. Within Langley's wood-paneled 7th floor, CIA analysts model sabotage scenarios. Could grant freezes and tariff gyrations destabilize urban supply chains? A red team memo warns that external provocateurs, foreign troll farms, domestic extremists, may weaponize the chaos narrative. The White House dismisses the memo as beltway timidity. NAC commissioners subpoena the red team author's emails, citing proof of bureaucratic sabotage. 8. Congressional trench warfare. On Capitol Hill, House oversight transforms into a coliseum. Republicans display giant charts of crime indices, each bar shaded in deep blue. Democrats counter with charts linking poverty rates to grant freezes. Hearings devolve into legalistic brawls. Can a president condition already appropriated money on ideological compliance? Constitutional scholars parse South Dakota versus Dole and NFIB v. Sebelius. Cable panels condense 10-minute dissertations into 7-second zingers. A moderate block of blue dog Democrats, fearful of being painted as stewards of chaos, quietly signals openness to targeted accountability benchmarks, enraging their caucus's left flank. The Senate, no longer the world's greatest deliberative body, but a stage set for streaming audiences, votes along razor margins to authorize the Accountability Commission subpoenas. Filibuster rules, already tattered, fray further when the vice president counts a voice vote as cloture. C-SPAN's cameras capture senators shouting tyranny and temper tantrum across the aisle. 9. Corporate calculus and media refractor. Major tech firms, relentlessly subpoenaed for moderation logs, ponder settlement paths. Some capitulate, handing over anonymized data. Others fight, hiring veteran Republican attorneys and hinting at donations to rural broadband projects dear to swing state senators. Elon Musk live streams each compliance announcement as if scoring goals. Twitter-style hearts float across screens. Traditional media fractures. Newsmax runs a perpetual lower third. Democrats lose control. MSNBC overlays footage of militarized federal raids with the caption, "Federal Overreach Unbound." Why are agencies vainly search for neutral adjectives? The Associated Press stylebook adds a note discouraging reporters from using the phrase lawless zone without corroborating data, prompting accusations of liberal bias. 10. Culture war convergences. Artists boycotting federal grant programs mount exhibitions in abandoned warehouses. Works feature shredded U.S. grant contracts soaked in red dye. Country music stars counter with a benefit concert under the banner Secure Our Streets, raising funds for sheriff's badge-shaped relief organizations. Viral TikTok kennels appear. One side paints dogs in red, white, and blue, the other in a rainbow collage. Both sides claim to rescue democracy. College debating societies collapse into walkouts as students argue whether the grant freeze is fiscal sobriety or social arson. 11. Judiciary limbo. Federal courts become choke points. Injunctions fly. Stays land. Appellate panels waffle. A district judge in San Francisco invalidates the sanctuary freeze, calling it federal commandeering by appropriation. An appellate panel in the Fifth Circuit upholds an identical freeze in Houston, praising the president's interpretive finesse. The Solicitor General petitions for an expedited Supreme Court ruling. Pundits coin a new term, grant-gotsy, to describe the labyrinthine freeze. Social media wags create branching diagrams showing which counties can buy bulletproof vests for school police this quarter. 12. The public mood. Pollsters detect an undercurrent. Millions feel simultaneously alarmed by the rhetoric and intrigued by promises of restored order. Suburban voters voice fatigue. Urban activists voice defiance. Rural diners frame the debate as existential. Trump's approval rating pivots on a hinge of fear and relief. To the anxious, he offers certainty. To the complacent, he offers adrenaline. 13. Foreign ripples. Allies watch in bafflement. A NATO communique urges measured discourse. Trump replies with a post. Try governing Detroit before lecturing us. EU ministers fret about supply chain tariffs. Yet secretly, eye the verified voter portal as a template for their own populists. The Kremlin's propaganda channel ridicules America's blue zone versus red zone spectacle even as it copies the phrase for internal use against regional governors. 14. Final collision. The order summits. Eventually, showmanship demand a climax. Trump schedules twin summits. One with Republican governors beneath Mount Rushmore's granite visages, the other, 1 week later, with Democratic mayors invited to meet him at the Alcatraz dock, the prison looming like a Gothic chess piece. Democratic leaders debate attendance. Boycott seems weak, submission worse. They choose conditional engagement. A mayor's delegation boards a Coast Guard cutter infused with symbolic dignity. At Mount Rushmore, Trump unveils a compact for urban stability, promising accelerated infrastructure dollars to any jurisdiction that signs a lawful compliance certification, effectively pledging cooperation with every NAC directive. Governors line up, pens ready. Crowds wave banners reading "Accountability is patriotism." On Alcatraz's pier, however, the mayors present a rival charter, the Civic Resilience Accord, pledging to maintain sanctuary policies, protect health care, and litigate budgetary coercion to the Supreme Court's last breath. They brandish it like an act of civil defiance, cameras capturing every angle. Trump, flanked by Musk and Attorney General Eastman, smiles as if expecting precisely that tableau. He raises a folder containing freshly signed warrants authorizing the NAC to inspect municipal servers for fraudulent budgeting. The symbolism is sublime for his base. Defiant Democrats stand on an island once designed to cage America's worst, now implicitly recast as the seat of their own undoing. 15. Unresolved tension, the new normal. No climax releases the tension. Courts deliberate. Agencies parry FOIA requests. Investors hedge between tax incentives and export surcharges. Families disagree at dinner. Churches split congregations between order and freedom ministries. The president hoards rhetorical oxygen with each new post. When Democrats choose chaos, we choose control. Total control for a safer America. The line appears on billboards paid for by a super PAC called Streets Before Status. Survey data shows the phrase eclipsing "build the wall" as the rally chant of the cycle. Meanwhile, The Atlantic publishes an essay comparing the Accountability Commission to 19th century Reconstruction boards. National Review counters that chaos demands Reconstruction-grade solutions. Think tank panels multiply like Hydra heads. No sword severs them. 16. Fiction's open ending. From the outside, the United States resembles a nation balancing on a fulcrum made of rhetoric, money, and algorithmic attention. Trump's policies, grant freezes, tariff pivots, Medicaid clawbacks, Alcatraz revamp, biometric voting, interlock like gears, each amplifying the other's torque. Democrats, boxed as chaos agents, either break the frame or remain trapped within it. Republicans, cast as order's custodians, discover that order forever deferred remains a potent campaign promise. Corporate America learns to memorize compliance checklists with partisan headings. Ordinary citizens learn to navigate public life through acronyms: NAC, VVP, GFE, each representing a policy bigger than most state budgets. And overarching everything is that single X post, still pinned to the top of Trump's profile like the first domino in an endless line. The Democrats are really out of control. They have lost everything, especially their minds. Whether the dominoes tumble towards civic renewal or authoritarian decay is left unresolved, because the policies set in motion are engineered not for closure, but for perpetual momentum, ensuring that the debate over control never ends, only reinvents itself with every scroll, every subpoena, every rally hat, and every ballot scan by a portal bearing Elon Musk's signature. The twin summits prove less denouement than ignition, fusing the national argument into something harder, brighter, and infinitely more difficult to extinguish. With every microphone turned toward a podium and every scroll thumb poised above a share button, the notion of control escapes the confines of rhetoric and seeps into daily life like an ambient voltage, felt in elevators, cubicles, grocery store aisles, everywhere two strangers hesitate before deciding whether to speak freely. The NAC Leviathan. Inside the glassfront headquarters of the National Accountability Commission, Elon Musk unveils Phase 2, Data Harmony. Tablets glide across a conference table shaped like a stylized eagle wing. Each displays an interface that ranks every U.S. county on a composite civic order metric. The algorithm draws from crime filings, budget deficits, opioid overdoses, and an opaque sentiment index scraped from social media. Red counties tend to appear in calming greens and blues. Blue-led urban cores glow in alarming crimsons. Commissioners cheer the visual simplicity, yet statisticians within the Bureau of Economic Analysis mutter about p-values and confounders. When they request raw code, NAC lawyers reply with curt reminders of national security exemptions. The software rolls out anyway, pre-installed on federal workstations and offered to state governments as a complementary diagnostic. The Control Compliance Compact. At the Department of Commerce, a slimmer, more ideologically aligned team finalizes the Control Compliance Compact, CCC, a bundle of regulatory fast tracks, tax deferrals, and infrastructure credits accessible only to jurisdictions scoring above 50 on Musk's metric. Enrollment demands formal signatures on a lawful governance pledge, cooperation with detainer requests, verified voter portal integration, and full data handoffs to NAC auditors. Suburban counties hedging between red rural and blue urban pressures eye the incentives like candy in a dentist lobby. A few early adopters, Orlando's outskirts, Omaha's southern tier, sign on and receive high-visibility ribbon cuttings for highway bypasses long stuck in red tape. Drone footage of new interchanges loops on White House channels, captioned order builds. Mayors opposed to the pledge denounce what they call municipal blackmail, but homeowners commuting on freshly paved lanes wonder aloud whether principals fill potholes. The judiciary's forking maze. Opponents pin their hopes on the courts, yet litigation splinters into contradictory outcomes that leave even appellate clerks dizzy. A panel in the Seventh Circuit blocks CCC incentives, ruling that benefit conditioning is indistinguishable from coercive penalty, while the Fourth Circuit upholds them, praising benign encouragement of best practices. The Solicitor General petitions the Supreme Court for expedited consolidation. The court grants certiorari, yet oral arguments languish behind an overcrowded docket. Constitutional law professors update syllabi mid-semester. Students clutch color-coded flowcharts thicker than casebooks. In the limbo between injunction and enforcement, the CCC spreads like kudzu. Municipal councils pass midnight resolutions of provisional compliance. Activist groups file sunrise lawsuits. Bond ratings drift according to rumor. Financial sector think tanks release control risk premium tables, assigning basis point spreads to every county. A new niche profession, order bond analyst, springs up in Manhattan and Charlotte, its practitioners courted like minor celebrities on cable finance shows. Economic shockwaves, order bonds, and urban flight. Wall Street giants package order bonds, municipal debt pooled only from CCC jurisdictions, into exchange-traded funds marketed as low-volatility civic grade. Yields dip, investors flock, and credit agencies signal potential downgrades for non-compliant cities, citing policy uncertainty. Real estate newsletters advise corporate relocations to stable zones. Tech startups once enamored of inner-city lofts suddenly tour suburban campuses inside CCC clusters where tax abatements lie piled like in used bricks. Urban critics call it redlining by algorithm. Suburban boosters claim it's simply prudence restored. Census demographers record an uptick of mailbox forwarding forms from blue cores to purple collars. Conservative commentators christen the trend control migration. Progressive podcasts retort that people follow jobs, not politics. Yet those jobs increasingly arrive accessorized with CCC compliance clauses and NAC-audited payrolls. The cultural schism widens. Culture responds with equal fervor. Broadway producers stage a satirical musical, Metric, complete with dancing bar graphs and a villainous eagle. Ticket sales soar until a CCC-aligned state threatens to withdraw tourism grants from a visiting roadshow. The national tour cancels 2 cities overnight. Nashville's country scene counters with Order Fest, a stadium concert live-streamed on the verified voter portal, headlined by stars wearing jerseys emblazoned with their county's civic order scores. Merchandise booths sell, "I'm a 72." T-shirts. Social media turns numerical rank into identity badge. University campuses fracture along newly visible lines. Administrators in non-compliant states brace for grant freezes targeting humanities departments accused of harboring chaos-normative curricula. Donor boards whisper about the wisdom of funding law reviews critical of the CCC. Conservative student clubs invite NAC commissioners as commencement speakers. Progressive faculties threaten teaching strikes. The American Association of University Professors drafts a statement likening data-driven funding removals to McCarthy-era loyalty oaths. Foreign echoes and international leverage. Allies, confused but pragmatic, repurpose the language of control for their own parochial fights. Poland's ruling coalition introduces a harmony index modeled on Musk's metric to rank municipalities on traditional values compliance. Brazil's Senate debates Cidade Ordem, grants pegged to anti-gang collaboration with federal troops. A leaked EU white paper contemplates license-based digital residency, eerily similar to the verified voter portal. Back home, the State Department quietly integrates civic order scores into foreign investment screening, adding friction to cross-border mergers wherever a blue jurisdiction owns critical infrastructure. European partners protest in polite diplomatic cables. China, spotting leverage, offers sweetheart loans to spurned cities, framing itself as the neutral banker in America's domestic feud. Congressional hawks howl, but mayors strapped for liquidity schedule exploratory trade missions to Shanghai. The intelligence community's gray revolt. Within the intelligence agencies, a slow-burning conflict emerges between political appointees embracing NAC data and career analysts skeptical of its noise-to-signal ratio. A faction of CIA veterans drafts an unsigned memo, the mirage of numerical order, warning that adversaries can game open-source metrics, flooding social platforms with staged crime videos to depress an opponent's score. When the memo leaks, NAC commissioners summon its presumed author, a Persian Gulf specialist named Grace Kashani, to testify under oath. She predicts a scenario where foreign troll farms stage incidents in swing counties days before an election, triggering emergency blockades under CCC protocols. NAC chair Musk live streams the exchange and calls it a paranoid fantasy worthy of Philip K. Dick. The clip garners record engagement, split exactly along partisan lines. The whistleblower earthquake. Barely a news cycle later, a former NAC junior data engineer, alias Helix, publishes 40 gigabytes of code fragments on a darknet forum, alleging deliberate score inflation for counties with high Republican donor density. Journalists pore over the dump, discovering weight multipliers that amplify vandalism reports in chaos counties, while dampening identical offenses elsewhere. The White House labels the leak a national security breach. Helix disappears, rumored to have slipped across the Canadian border aided by digital rights activists. A bipartisan coalition in the House demands an independent audit. Speaker Mike Johnson agrees, provided the auditor is appointed by the NAC itself. Democrats balk, negotiations stall, late-night hosts render the standoff in puppetry. Markets twitch, but hold. Order bonds retain AAA ratings, though footnotes now warn of methodology disputes. Credit default swap spreads widen for blue core muni debt. Insurance premiums rise for arts festivals staged in non-compliant zones. Legislative brinkmanship and a shadow impeachment. Senate Democrats move to create a select committee on algorithmic integrity. Republicans filibuster by reading aloud thousands of verified voter portal user comments praising the NCC. The standoff bleeds into budget season, threatening a government shutdown. White House negotiators float temporary waivers for Democratic strongholds hit by tornadoes. Progressive caucus members refuse to be bribed by disaster relief. Behind closed doors, a group of moderate senators drafts clandestine impeachment articles, not for traditional high crimes, but for systemic coercion via fiscal extortion. They court 3 GOP colleagues known for institutionalist leanings, yet each demands bulletproof public support. Pollsters find no such support. The articles languish in a digital drawer. Trump, sensing mutiny, tweets a photo of the Resolute desk ornamented with a fresh, sharp-assigned banner. Try me. His base buys the slogan on yard signs. QAnon forums turn it into prophecy. The Supreme Court showdown. Eventually, the Supreme Court combines the chaos of lower court skirmishes into a single styled case, United States v. People of California. At all oral arguments attract lines snaking across First Street before dawn. NAC lawyers argue that the spending clause authorizes tiered encouragement. Opposing counsel counters that tiered discouragement is simply coercion by another name. Chief Justice Roberts asks whether a metric generated by a private billionaire can constitutionally gate federal largesse. Solicitor General Eastman replies, the metric merely crystallizes existing realities. Justice Kagan quips, crystals are pretty until they shatter. Laughter ripples. Cameras outside catch the echo in protest chants. Months pass without a ruling, yet the uncertainty itself acquires gravitational mass. The word stay becomes the most searched legal term online. Law students wear shirts reading #WeAreAllDefendants. Corporate boardrooms adopt SCOTUS buffer plans, earmarking contingency funds in case of metric invalidation. The Great Control Charter. Impatient with legal delays, Trump pens a sweeping proposal. The Great Control Charter, GCC, promising a constitutional amendment to enshrine the NCC, the CCC, and the Verified Voter Portal as permanent federal structures. The text arrives embossed in gold leaf, framed like a papal bull, and unveiled at a Rose Garden ceremony where choir boys sing Battle Hymn of the Republic, backed by snare drums. Ratification would require 3/4 of state legislatures. Swing states become battlegrounds. Campaign money floods local races at volume unseen since Citizens United. Door knockers present voters with laminated scorecards showing each district's order metric, warning that defeat of the charter could plunge your zip code into fiscal fog. Charter billboards line interstates. Opponents plaster counter billboards showing broken hospital wings, caption control means cuts. Shadow economics and the chaos crypto. In regions starved of grants, a parallel economy emerges. Tech activists introduce Chaos Coin, a cryptocurrency whose blockchain records every verified act of mutual aid, soup kitchen volunteers, neighborhood cleanups, community bail funds, as proof of social work. Miners earn tokens by uploading time-stamped video evidence of civic engagement. Chaos Coin's value spikes on decentralized exchanges, irritating Senate banking leaders who call it terror finance in a hoodie. NAC floats draft regulations labeling unregistered social tokens potential instruments of compliance evasion. Chaos Coin founders livestream a group reading of the Federalist Papers and dare regulators to arrest them on Independence Mall steps. Thousands watch while wearing Guy Fawkes masks crocheted in rainbow thread. Algorithmic arms race. Google, Amazon, and Meta, tired of subpoena whiplash, develop MetaOrder, their own transparency standard promising public dashboards of content moderation decisions. NAC dismisses it as cosmetic and issues fresh subpoenas for back-end server logs. The companies respond by open-sourcing redacted datasets, enabling independent coders to build rival civic metrics. Suddenly, counties brandish 3 different scores: NAC's official number, Big Tech's civility index, and Chaos Coin's mutual aid quotient. Talk show hosts stage debates where guests hold up placards showing their favorite score like Eurovision judges. The city-safe simulation and the gamification of control. Lockheed Martin's R&D wing, eyeing domestic contracts, unveils CitySafe, a VR simulation sold to police departments. Players manage virtual neighborhoods, allocating patrols, social service grants, and NAC compliance tasks to maintain high-order ratings. Departments achieving top in-game scores qualify for discounted drones and predictive policing software. Civil rights attorneys dub it Call of Duty Federal Mandate Edition. Teenagers hack the leaderboards, injecting Chaos Coin branding into tutorial screens. A Detroit precinct accidentally streams a hacked simulation on its public Facebook page, showing officers rewarded for planting incriminating evidence. NAC blames foreign bots, yet the clip garners millions of views. Corporate civil war. Within Fortune 500 boardrooms, rifts widen. FedEx, citing locker room thefts in low-score cities, starts charging chaos surcharges. UPS refuses, launching an ad campaign. We deliver everywhere. No score required. Delta assigns older aircraft to non-CCC airports to mitigate risk, prompting boycotts. Target splits its merchandising lines. Order essentials priced lower in CCC zones. Community choice in others. Shareholders debate ESG versus OCC. Order compliance credential criteria. Proxy fights hinge on whether supply chain ethics demand disengagement from coercive metrics or embrace of government-aligned stability. The soft secession. Frustrated by economic strangulation, a consortium of large blue zone cities signs the Urban Solidarity Memorandum, pledging shared ambulance services, bulk purchasing co-ops, and a municipal barter currency denominated in service hours. Conservative governors threaten National Guard deployment if barter tokens cross state lines. The prospect of armed checkpoints at county borders electrifies ratings. News choppers hover, but actual troops remain in barracks. Policy saber-rattling suffices. Cable panels invoke the specter of the Civil War, yet everyday life continues with surreal normalcy. Parents still carpool, grocery clerks still scan produce, though they now discuss civic order scores the way they once discussed weekend weather. The whistleblower returns. Months into exile, Helix reemerges via an encrypted video embedded in Chaos Coin's blockchain. Face obscured but voice unmistakable, Helix claims a master override. Brass key. Lets White House aides modify any county score in real time. As proof, the engineer calls out a random precinct, predicts its score will jump 5 points within the hour, and instructs viewers to refresh the NAC dashboard. Millions watch as the predicted uptick materializes. The White House dismisses it as statistical fluctuation. Senate Democrats call for subpoenas. Senate Republicans call for Helix's extradition. Deep state conspiracy groups fracture. Some hail Helix as digital messiah. Others insist the stunt is a double psyop designed to delegitimize the metric only so it can be replaced by something worse, the fragile equilibrium. As the Supreme Court's term winds down without a verdict, the country subsists on litigative suspense. Polls show charter support plateauing below ratification threshold, yet campaign cash keeps pouring. On freeways, dueling billboards escalate. Control creates prosperity, contends with freedom outlives metrics. Families schedule holiday dinners only after confirming civic scores won't become table talk. A late-night comedian coins score shaming for the act of mocking someone's county number. HR departments add it to harassment trainings. Dating apps offer order plus chaos filters. Mixed score romances trend among millennials seeking algorithmic diversity. The catalyst nobody predicted. Not legislative maneuver, court decree, or viral leak finally tips the balance, but a once-in-a-century solar storm. Coronal ejections fry satellites, scramble GPS, and knock out data centers hosting the NAC's real-time dashboards. Overnight, scores vanish from phones. Verified voter portal authentication fails. City-safe drones lose waypoint guidance and land in playgrounds. In the sudden metric vacuum, local leaders improvise. A mayor in a Midwestern capital convenes town hall assemblies to allocate police and social service budgets by hand vote. Residents, starved for agency, show up in droves. News vans capture images of neighbors raising colored cards to decide trash collection priorities, anarchic to some, inspiring to others. White House surrogates argue the blackout proves the need for hardened infrastructure and deeper federal integration. Charter opponents counter that the storm reveals communities can function when stripped of distant metrics. Pollsters scramble without online dashboards. Door-to-door canvassers rediscover the power of physical clipboards. Within a week, backup servers restore dashboards, but something ineffable has shifted. Having glimpsed existence beyond numbers, citizens greet the returning scores with neither trust nor rebellion, but a new, quiet scrutiny. The Supreme Court eventually issues a patchwork opinion, upholding selective incentive programs while striking down punitive grant freezes, remanding much else for lower court clarification. Both sides declare victory. Neither is satisfied. The Great Control Charter stalls one state shy of ratification. The verified voter portal survives, but public usage declines as open-source rivals flourish. Order bonds keep trading, though yields adjust to reflect legal ambiguity. And yet, stripped of finality, the debate over control proves self-replicating. New political startups, radical order, measured freedom, metric skeptics collective, appear like mushrooms after rain. They hold festivals where NAC evangelists share stages with chaos coin miners, each pitching a vision in which numbers either rescue or ruin society. Children memorize their county's scores the way previous generations recited state capitals. Some rebel by scrawling inflated numbers on school lockers, others by insisting scores are parent propaganda. Novelists write dystopias where the metric becomes a genetic tattoo. Tech utopians imagine AI-governed communes with scores obsolete. What began as a single social media broadside has morphed into a permanent axis along which American life rotates. Order and chaos not as endpoints, but as dialectic engines. Each policy begets a counter-policy. Each metric spawns an anti-metric. Every assertion of control invites an eruption of ingenuity that slips the net, only to be measured, quantified, and contested anew. No narrator can declare the struggle resolved, because resolution would require consensus on the very meaning of control, and that word now carries too many annotations, footnotes, and lived experiences. Instead, the nation continues forward, a vast experiment in contested governance, its future as mutable as the algorithms that once promised to measure it. The living argument marches on. In court filings and kitchen arguments, in city council budgets and encrypted blockchains, in sermon lines and lyrical rhymes, redefining freedom, authority, community, and the very arithmetic of civic life with each turn of the endless, incandescent debate.